Hey, I'm Dr. Kate Walker, and welcome to your Tuesday coaching. I'm so glad you're here. If you're watching me on a replay, listening to me on a podcast, you're doing a good thing. That means you're taking time to get better, to learn something new, and I hope today is awesome. Give me 2 seconds. I'm going to let folks in who want to be here live. All right. And remember, if you're watching or listening live here on the Zoom call, because Step It Up members get to come every Tuesday at noon for the group coaching, you don't have to have a camera on. You don't have to do anything. I am here. And at the end, I'm going to open it up for questions. Generally, what I do is I talk about the topic first, and then I leave it to you guys because you have good questions. And this summer is all about the boot camp. We're doing a 14-week boot camp because most practices, not all, but many practices kind of experience the summer slump, the little doldrum. Everybody's out on vacation or kids are going to have gone to summer camp. Our clients tend to dwindle in the summertime, but that's okay. We can plan for that. And that's what we're doing right now. We're using the summer to tweak some things, pivot some things, adjust some things so that you can hit the ground running in the fall. And the fall is generally when things tend to pick up. So if you see kiddos or adolescents, that's when you're going to see that first note home within the first 6 weeks when that first grading period happens, or with couples who are trying to keep it together for all the family time over the summer. Then the kids go off to school, and then you couple therapists might also see an uptick in the fall. But don't worry, we got you covered in the fall. We'll have some other trainings just for that so that when all of this starts building, you'll know exactly what to do. So you'll finish today's episode with some skills to talk on the phone. Yes, I know I'm using the word phone. It's so antiquated. And who talks on the phone anymore? Well, you have this amazing voice, and that voice is how people connect with you. And so if you don't like the phone, totally want to respect that too. So take whatever I say today and you can translate that into text or email or however you want to have that first contact with your client, because that's what last week was about. If you recall, we talked about how to talk to that client, or potential client rather, so that you get a booked first session, so an actual client, or a raving fan. Remember, a raving fan is someone who may not be well suited for you as a client, either because of cost or schedule or specialty, but they loved the phone call with you so much that they're going to go spread the word about what an amazing resource you are to their friends and family and colleagues. And we talked about how to make that easy for them, right? We've talked about a call to action. So if you aren't sure what those are, just easy peasy, go back to that and you can hit play and slow it down or speed it up or pause or whatever you got to do so that you really understand your goal. Your goal is you're going to create a client or a fan. Now, let's talk about why that's important. We talked about 4 KPIs this summer, not SMART goals. Even though I love SMART goals, you know I love SMART goals. KPIs, key performance indicators, allow us to pivot when things aren't going well. So if you can imagine, if you will, you're somebody who operates a practice and you've got this social media manager and you're paying this social media manager big bucks and they're doing all the things. They're posting on Instagram regularly. They're interacting regularly. They're updating all of the links regularly. And you're like, oh, what a good practice owner I am. Well, how do you know what they're doing is actually moving the needle on things like client caseload, money, income, retention, whatever those things are that you measure? And if you are a cash-based practice, in other words, if you don't take insurance, then marketing's got to be your jam. I mean, this is you trying to get your name out there. So we talked about 4 KPIs when we started the boot camp, right? Number 1 is the phone call. And you remember I put that in air quotes because I know some of you don't like the phone call. You want the text, you want the email, and that's all good. So that is the phone call. You want to increase the number of people reaching out to you, KPI number 1. Number 2 is the contact. That's when phone tag is over, email tag is over, and you actually make contact with that person. Number 3 is the booked first appointment. So when you can look at your schedule and say, aha, that person who called me and then we made contact, they actually booked an appointment. And then number 4 is made appointment, like they actually showed up to the first session, right? So we want to see those numbers go up. And I want you to test me on this. If you're following along with every week of the boot camp and you have your Excel spreadsheet or whatever you like to track numbers with, I hope you are tracking those 4 numbers because we want them to go up. We want you to have more people reaching out. I want you to play less phone tag. I want you to book more first sessions, and I want more of those folks to show up. Now, today's continuing that because I want to dive a little deeper into exactly what you say on the call. So we talked about the script. We talked about how to say, hey, this is Kate Walker. Am I speaking to Jane Doe? And is this still a good time? Because you're smart, and what you did is you made sure to schedule a contact time so that phone tag goes down, or actually just goes away. So we're looking at then what you, because I kind of skipped over the part of what you say. I mean, I talked about how to explain and, how to ask if they have any questions. And then you can talk about your cost, your insurance, whether or not you take insurance, and your schedule. Now let's talk about the meat of this, right? You've engaged with this potential client. You have said, okay, tell me a little bit about what's going on. You're helping them understand boundaries because you are watching the clock. And remember, not everybody does it this way. There are lots of different ways to do this. And now you're going to let them know what to expect. Now, what I'm going to say may cause a lot of you to kind of pause and go, oh, crap, I don't know. Because we don't often think about, ready, drum roll, please, how does counseling actually work, right? How does it actually make a difference? And some of you may be thinking, well, Kate, it's the relationship, or it's the intervention, or it's my theory, or it's, et cetera, right? Fill in the blank. That's all well and good, but that's your way of looking at it, right? That's counselor speak. That's techie, master's level, PhD level. I've read all the journals in the textbook. Big deal, right? When you go to the dentist with a toothache, you don't want to hear how he's going to fix your tooth necessarily, or just give me the brief overview. Just tell me when I'm going to feel better. And that's something I know we as counselors really struggle with, right? When am I going to feel better? Counselor says, I'm not really sure. It depends a lot on you, right? So we know that. Ethically, we need to make sure we're not making promises that we cannot keep, right? We can't guarantee a cure. We can't say 100% if you do X, Y, and Z, then blank will get better. But we can do some explaining about what the potential client, if they become a client, can expect. So here's the shift I want you to make. Every time you're tempted to say, here's what I do, you're going to shift to what you can expect. So, for example, what I teach is to explain to this potential client what they can expect in the first 3 sessions, 4 sessions if it's a couple. So, for example, here we go. Hi, here's, no, sorry, I've already said hi. I'm skipping ahead. You can say something like, well, if it's okay with you, can I explain a little bit about how counseling works? And asking their permission, and they say, well, yeah, I'd love to hear how counseling works or works with me, right? In the first session, it will feel like an interview. I'm going to ask you a lot of questions. And at the end, I'm going to ask you what you'd like to do to move forward. I'm going to give you 3 directions that we can take. I'm going to give you homework, right? You can do any of those options, right? You can let them know what you're going to do. I'm going to ask you a lot of questions. It's going to feel like an interview. At the interview, we can discuss directions you want to take. And then ... if everyone agrees to go forward. So right then you help your potential client understand this is a collaboration. We are a team, right? It's not me curing you. We are working together. So if everybody agrees to go forward, then I will give you something, and this is where homework comes in. I'll give you something to read, something to write, something to look up, something to research, something to journal, right? So that potential client understands at the end of that first session, they're not just going to be left like, okay, all right, I just spilled my guts. Now I'm supposed to come back in next week and then all the magic's going to happen, right? This is a safety net. You're helping them see that there's always an end in mind. There's always a goal. So you and I both know, you're going to go through an assessment, right? You're going to do an intake. And it will be a lot of questions, and you will make it feel probably a little bit like an interview. And if you've been doing this a long, long time, you know you can go a little bit faster and there are some things you can skip over. But if you haven't been doing this very long, you may think, oh gosh, I may need 2 sessions to get through this intake. I would encourage you to still imagine being that client at the end of the first session and they've just spilled everything and you're like, okay, come back next week. Silence, right? I would encourage you to let them know directions that they can take. And I would encourage you to give them something to do. It's not about checking their homework and seeing if they get it done. It's about helping them understand the collaborative nature of the therapy process and giving them some control, helping them understand they can say no, they can say yes, they can contribute, right? You've heard me say 100 times, when a potential client calls you, anxiety is up. And when anxiety goes up, cognition goes down, right? Anxiety just means fear. And when you're helping this potential client understand what to expect, it's like, oh, okay, all right, I know what to expect. Okay, whew, there's some control there, right? So again, first session, it's going to feel like an interview. At the end of the first session, you can expect some directions. And if we all agree to go forward, then I can give you something to read, write, look up, research. In the second session, yep, I'm going there. And I promise I'm going to keep it simple. In the second session, we'll course correct based on your feedback. You see what I did there? I helped them understand that that second session, we're still part of a team. We are still collaborating, and I'm expecting you to participate. Now, whether your theory is cognitive behavioral and you do homework or not, again, I would encourage you to help the client understand in that second session, whether they come and say, I didn't do my homework at all. That's okay. We may still be totally in left field, right? I want to get us in the ballpark. I want to make sure that we're working on what my potential client, hopefully actual client, wants to work on. So I tell them in this phone call at the second session, we will course correct based on your feedback so that by the end of the third session, you will have, see, here I am, I'm letting them know I'm using you will have. Now let's think about what a client can possibly have at the end of a third session, right? We know that they're not going to have a cure. I mean, maybe, who knows? We know that they're not going to, I don't know, have the keys to everything, right? We cannot guarantee a cure. Again, ethically, we are responsible marketers, and that's what we're doing right now. We're marketing, we're advertising. At the end of the third session, you can expect to have 1, resources. We know that because we gave them some in the second session. You can expect to have some new coping tools. Again, the resources have coping tools. If you recommended an amazing book, you probably recommended it because it has coping tools in there, right? And number 3, you're going to have a good idea if working with me is going to be a good fit. So you see how I'm priming the pump here. I'm helping them understand that compatibility is a huge part of success in therapy as well, right? So I've planted these seeds: collaboration, teamwork, you giving me input, understanding that you're going to have a job here too. And finally, if working with me is going to be a good fit for you, right? And then if they want to ask more about your theory and your style and get down to real specifics of how you do things. And remember, I'm hoping you're listening to this or watching this, kind of filtering this through your own specialty. If you're EMDR, if you're DBT, if you're a play therapist, right? You have particular things that you do. And I'm just challenging you, encouraging you to think about what that might look like if you were the client in those first 3 sessions. Now, here's how I switch it up for couples, because for couples, I do a single individual with each of them. I let them know, okay, in the first session, it's going to feel like an interview. I'm going to ask a lot of questions. And at the end, you will have some directions that we can take. If everybody agrees to go forward, then I will schedule 1 individual session with you, caller, and 1 individual session with your partner. And we will work on goals, and I can find out more information. And then the 4th session will be a communication exercise. I'll put you through the exercise so that by the end of the 4th session, here we go, remember, you'll have resources, you'll have tools, and you will know if working with me is going to be a good fit. Now, depending on the call, I may or may not mention that in those individual sessions, I'm not a secret keeper, right? And that, again, that depends on you and your theory and how you do things. I know that for me, when I do those individual sessions, if there's an active affair or an active addiction, I will not keep that secret. And I let them know that from the beginning so we don't get in that awkward situation later on. And I'm having to refer them out and it just gets really messy, right? So from the very, very beginning, you're letting them know how you do business. Now we take a breath. You see the homework you got to do here, right? Now you have to think about how you do business, right? And remember, it's not about being perfect. It's not about showing them how amazing you are. Again, I love the idea of, the metaphor of the dentist. When you go to the dentist for major medical work, usually they're going to take you back into a room and they're going to show you the treatment plan, right? They're going to show you about how many days it'll take, what you can expect. They'll probably tell you how much it's going to cost, hopefully. So you have some control. You can make some decisions. There's transparency. You can trust the dentist to do what they say they're going to do because they put it in writing. And then if you agree to it, you sign it, right? This is the same thing, or it's close to it, right? You're helping the client understand so that they can start to trust you and trust the counseling process, especially if this is their first time. Right? They don't know how counseling works other than what they see on TV. So they're going to listen to you. They're going to be educated by you. But most importantly, they're going to be assured by you, right? Right? We want that anxiety to come down because that's when you get to the next question, which is, can I get you scheduled? Right? And then they can ask questions about your cost, your schedule, your specialty, your insurance, and things like that. And you'd be so surprised how this phone call changes from that first contact where they're maybe telling their story and it's hard to get them to draw a breath and you're trying to help them understand. And at the end, they're like, oh, okay, I can do this. In fact, I'll tell you personally that when I do this particular script, I often, not just once in a while, I often get the comment, oh, this is wonderful. I've never had anybody really talk to me like this about counseling, helped me understand. And y'all, I'm not doing anything magical. I'm doing what you do. I've just explained it in a way that helps them have some control, have some clarity, and reassure them that they still have choices, right? They're expected to be a partner. And that it's not like they're signing up for 10 sessions and away we go, right? We want them to understand that they're part of a team. So that's it. That's it for this phone call, right? We're going to take what you learned last week about what to say, exactly what to say. You're going to combine it with this week where you're really diving in to the verbiage that reassures and helps this potential client understand what to expect so that remember, there are two choices here. We want them to become a client or a raving fan who goes and tells all the world about how amazing you are and how wonderful your website is. All right, I'm going to hit pause and open it up for questions.